just
We
there's
are
no leadership.
we are
Hey,
live now.
we are live.
Just as you were talking about Married at First Sight, and it's really funny. Let's
So
talk
we
as
so
well.
we were going to talk about leadership things, and I want to talk about Married at First Sight Australia, which I'm
Yeah,
watching at the moment. You what? I was never into that. I was never ever into that.
I've been
Right?
into this season too.
I know it's weird, isn't it? Because there's a lot of parallels between that and good leadership.
Well, yes, and I've also been using it actually to teach my children about the future of relationships and what are they observing, a bit of emotional intelligence
Yeah.
as well. So I'm keen to talk about that too. And if we get a chance, because we could just go down a rabbit hole there, if we get a chance, I've just got something that I think is pretty concerning that I've been hearing from staff in relation to leaders. So I'm going to keep that as like a little bit of a tail twister at the end as well, because I'm
It's
pretty,
almost like I want to know that now.
no, I know, I'm going to make you hold on. Um, Welcome, Andrew, and welcome everyone to the Leadership Lounge.
Yeah.
Andrew, Priestley, and I have known each other for well over 20 years. We did our psych degrees together. We both do a lot of coaching, executive coaching, business coaching, leadership coaching. We've authored books together, and we're always got some really interesting clients, don't we? And interesting things that we're dealing with, whether it be in businesses or with leaders or through coaching or just through the collaborations that we do with amazing other leadership experts from around the world. And we said about 6 months ago, why don't we touch on some leadership topics and talk about it for 20, 30 minutes every fortnight, and let's share some of the ideas. So you're in the UK, I'm here in Brisbane,
That's
and
Australia. For anyone
yeah,
who doesn't know what Brisbane is.
Australia. And I think it's really important, and I think it's important that we continue to have a voice in this space. I know
Mm.
that when COVID hit, we started running weekly workshops on leadership topics on a Wednesday morning from 9 till 10, right? Just 1 hour. And I would provide some tools, resources, frameworks around leadership topics, leading change, managing underperformance, feedback, communication, all that sort of stuff. And we've had over 10,000 people from around the world attend those topics. And I think it just goes to show that people want more leadership knowledge or skills or resources, yet sometimes they don't know where to get it. Or in some situations, leaders of leaders are not giving it either, not giving them the tools and the resources. So that's why we got together.
That's it. That's it. To have that chat. I had a really interesting. I'm not going to say week, but last 3 months. Right, really interesting thing. And I it's a and anything I talk about here, I've got permission to talk about it. So I just want to be clear because it's I'm talking about leadership, and the issue that's come up not from one but from several clients is this idea that my stock in trade as an executive coach is awareness, right? Because I worked in life and limb industries. I cut my teeth in coaching in mining and in hospital trusts and military and stuff like that, right? Where where if you ignore your awareness, on a good day, someone gets injured,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And on a bad day, somebody dies, right? And so it's and like I worked a lot with aviation where they look at black box recorders and things like that, and we studied a lot of that sort of stuff, right? Where it's leadership in the moment,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
leadership
Under
really
pressure.
counts, totally under pressure,
Yeah.
and that's what the leadership profile does. It measures where you go under pressure. It tells us where
Yes.
where are you going under pressure, right? And this is the really interesting thing, Kylie, is I what have I been coaching since 1997? So how many years is that? That's a fair amount of time, isn't it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's about 20, nearly 30 years
Yeah,
coming up,
nearly
right?
30 years.
Nearly 30 years. And the thing that I've learned is if you're in a leadership role and in business, there's no such thing as all of a sudden,
Yeah.
right? You always had a heads up. Or as I'm discovering, someone will come into a coaching session, a leader, and they'll say, "Oh, Why won't people just do what they're told? Why can't they do that? Why can't they, like I pay them enough? Why are they so slack? Productivity, performance issues, and all that sort of stuff. Here's the interesting thing. It's not just one, but I've had several clients like this, where they've had someone on their team who's doing something that's shonky,
Yeah.
and they said, "Oh, this happened to me. This happened." When we dug into it, we found out they actually got a heads up. They
Yeah.
actually got a heads up, right? And it's almost like I remember back in 2001
Yeah.
remember when Ansett fell over? Ansett, I think the Sydney 2000 Olympics, right? And Ansett, for those people who don't know, was Australia's national carrier. It had 70% of the domestic airline trade in Australia, right? And I remember getting up one morning and the news was Ansett has gone into liquidation,
Yeah.
right? And the leaders was claiming it's like I went to bed Wednesday night, everything was fine, and I
Yeah.
got up Thursday morning and Ansett's collapsed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these are the people that work for Ansett, right? What happened, right?
Don't
As if
know.
it as if it happened magically overnight,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
See, and anyone who understands putting a company into liquidation, right?
Yeah.
You don't do it overnight. It's
No.
not a decision you make overnight. It's not something that happened just magically overnight. It's, like I remember in 2000 when a certain airline relocated two of its flight simulators, one to Singapore and one to Auckland, New Zealand, right? And you don't take a $100 million piece of equipment and move it offshore.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You don't wake up and say, "Oh, do you think I'll move that?" Right? And that happened months and months and months before Ansett went into liquidation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So someone knows what's happening. So I had these clients, and I use that story quite a lot. Right? There's no such thing as all of a sudden in leadership. You got some heads up, right? So here's my question: if you're following this much, right? I had someone who had a manager who had a side hustle, and they were putting clients through the side hustle very profitably, right? Very profitably,
Mm.
right? And these guys were saying, "Oh, we just discovered." And I said, "Tell me, really, really dig into it. Really dig into this
Mm.
situation." It turned out they knew about it.
Yeah.
They knew about it. And the question was, it my point to them was it served them in some way to look the other way
Yeah.
as a leader. But that went right through their whole organization. What do you think? Discuss.
Well, I think it's a good point because I'm actually reading. I love reading, and I'm reading The Diary of a CEO, which is Stephen Bartlett, right?
Stephen
Who
Bartlett,
who actually your son was just interviewed by, which is
yeah.
enormous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the things he says in business is that so many leaders stick their head in the sand
Yeah.
because they don't like that discomfort. They don't like that feeling of what if I find out? What if I don't like the answer? What if? And
Yeah.
it kind of has been reminding me a lot about how many companies do you know that are going through restructure or change at the moment?
Yeah.
I know
Loads.
loads of them, whether it be a restructure, whether it be a new team restructure, whether it be a new leader restructure within a certain couple of the divisions, whatever it
That's
is.
most of my clients. That's most of my clients at the moment.
I'm going to say exactly the same. There's always a restructure. Well,
Mm.
what I'm hearing a lot now is the companies doing this. Oh, let's just not worry about the people just yet. Let's just get through the restructure. Let's
Yeah.
just do this. And I'm like,
Mm.
you're sticking your head in the sand because the reality of it is you need your people more than anything, but all you're focused on is strategy. Let's focus on the strategy. Let's focus on the restructure. Let's focus on this. Whereas in the meantime, your people are being left behind. They're being
Yeah.
so I think what happens is they stick their head in the sand and they go, I just got to do this bit. I just got to do this bit. And
Yeah.
then the other bit goes balls up.
Yeah. I'm sort of taking it up a notch though. I'm sort of saying these guys look the other way. On serious rule breaking, right? And total disregard for the impact that would have on their people,
Yeah.
right? I'm thinking of one in particular where that came with a very, very expensive price tag, north of 2 million, 2 million
Yeah.
pounds. I'm talking about, right? $4 million Australian, but
So
but
why did
it's
they overlook it then?
because the guy running the shop, the guy who in question that we're talking about here, right? Male or female, doesn't matter. But the person running that particular department had all the technical skills that they required, and their argument, their rationalization was really, really hard to replace. How do we? So we'll let that sort of go through. They just didn't know the extent of it,
Yeah,
and
right.
that's the hand in the sand bit
The
you're
stick in
talking.
the head in the sand. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They didn't want to know just how bad it was. They knew it was bad, but just didn't know how bad it was, right?
But
Um,
what does that say? Like, both of us have got a background in psych. What do you
hmm.
think that's really saying about the person that's sticking their head in the sand?
um,
Or just dismissing that? Like, what do you think it's saying? What is it?
well, clinically, you've got to bring in some serious heavy duty rationalizing to ignore bad behavior, right? And we see this. I mean, we were talking about married at first sight. That where they're encouraging people to speak up about stuff that
Yeah,
is just
yeah,
wrong, straight
yeah,
up and honest,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's really interesting, like how you see in that, even in just like that social thing, how that group think is, oh, we just hold back on it. We won't speak up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say two things to that part. In psychology, they talk about is the halo effect, don't they?
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
essentially, what your leader's doing is he's putting this halo effect on this person that's doing the wrong thing. They're so
yeah.
good. We're not going to get someone else that's got that skills and
That's
experience.
it.
We've put that halo effect. And for those that don't know what the halo effect is essentially thinking that the person is so much better and can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a
So
saint has a halo.
he has a halo, or they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
They are perfect, right?
Yeah.
And my second thing, if I think about it from a psychological perspective, there's a fear of something.
Yeah.
There's a fear of failure. There's a fear of maybe repercussions from what will their peers or what will the board think of me. I've put in a wrong hire. They've done the wrong thing. So there's a fear of something, I think, as well.
And I also think, like before we came on, I was talking about transactional analysis, right? And in that dynamic, when I was looking at that dynamic, the rogue manager was very parenty,
Yeah.
right? So, again, if you're watching that Married at First Sight, you see very parenty couple. There's one in the group who's very parenty in the relationship, and there's one who goes very at like almost like a child ego state.
Yeah.
And so my two owners, these are the owners, were almost like very really childish around this
Yeah, right.
particular very strong personality, but a very parenty. I met them. I said, this guy's trying to parent me,
Yeah, right, right.
right? It's not an adult to adult transaction. It's a
Yeah, right.
parent to child thing. And I
Mm,
said I wasn't having any of it, right?
mm.
And when he got called on it, then he went, oh, I really brought in the big guns. And I could see how that dynamic. So the fear is what? Fear of disapproval from this guy?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's fear of rejection, fear of being parented. I don't know.
yeah. I definitely think there's a fear of, I don't know, maybe it's even a fear of your losing respect from others.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they rationalised that we just can't replace this person. They're impossible to replace. And the logic of that is that if you're a leader, any one of your team today could walk in, could actually just get up from the desk and walk away, just go missing in action. And I've seen that. I've seen it on a huge tech job just recently with a client where the project lead
Project leader.
just went missing in action, didn't turn up. They were doing a major overhaul of a tech system, and just went missing in action. Just no radar communication, no phone communication, absolutely nothing, right? So
Well, did they really, or is that where again the leader stuck his head in the sand and not actually offered the support, the resources that they need in order to? Well, why did that
I
person
think
go
I,
missing?
I,
Like, surely
I
there
think
was
it's a
some
great.
signs, wasn't there?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, the point was, is there
Excuse
no
me,
such thing as all
sorry.
of a sudden? Yeah,
Wait
no,
a
keep
second.
going. So the issue that I had there was one of where I was chatting with the guy I was coaching, and he had reservations about how this project was going, right?
Yeah,
And I said, "Are you having reservations about the thing or the person or
yeah,
both?"
yeah, yeah,
And his little spidey senses were around. I don't think this guy's capable to handle this project, right?
yeah,
So I said, so I know what the answer is. I said, but what do you think? I wonder what you should do about that.
yeah.
And he said, oh, I think I should increase the supervision. I said, oh, what would that look like? Yeah, but if I show up, won't he think that I'm micromanaging him? There's your fear, right? Won't you think you're
Well,
micro?
hmm. I don't know. For me, to me, like again, someone just doesn't go rogue without showing signs. There's all
Yeah,
of these signs, aren't there,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
have occurred before.
Well, we were talking about married at first sight. It's easy for us to see where they're going wrong
Yeah.
from this distance. We go when you're talking at the TV. No, no, he's going to do that. Look,
Don't do it.
don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's
So
like they could hear you.
you said you had some leadership insights from that. What are some of those leadership insights that you saw? Because I had some more emotional intelligence insights is where
Yeah.
I was looking at it from as well. What were
Oh,
insights?
the one that got me upset was, you know what? I'm a big one about what are your values in a relationship. If you're in a
Yeah.
relationship, figure out your values, for
Yeah.
goodness sake.
First.
Yeah, and communicate those values to the other person. And so we had one situation where if you watch it from this distance, there's a woman who said, "This is what I want to talk about at this dinner. Will you support me?" And he said yes.
Yeah.
Then later denied they had that conversation. Right. So when it all went pear-shaped, he's missing in action.
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't agree to that. Right. Like it's like you got amnesia, right? And I see
Yeah.
that with leadership all the time. Did we have this conversation or not? And
Yeah.
I'm working with a leader who'll say yes to anything and then forget every agreement that they've made.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So that's the awareness piece. Did you say this or not? Did you
Yes.
say this or not? You know, it's sort of like the value is on as a leader, you've got to be really conscious. You've got to do leadership consciously,
Yes.
right? It's a conscious grown-up role that you've stepped into. You can't sort of go, oh, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't. You're still responsible whether you saw it coming or not, right? But
Yeah,
I'm
you
going to
are.
argue in most cases you're getting a heads up, even if your spidey senses are tingling.
So therefore, the point that I think really that comes out of this is the leaders not getting on the balcony. And I talk about this, and you would have heard this analogy before. Are you on the balcony or on the dance floor? And I absolutely get we have to be on the dance floor sometimes. We can't always be on the dance floor. Sorry, on the balcony. The dance floor is an important part too. You know what I mean, isn't it? It's important to see what's going on, get a feel. How's the culture? How's the people? How's the vibe? How's all of that? But this is the time where leaders need to be on the balcony and they need to be looking over everything. That a leader someone shouldn't go missing in action and a
Hmm.
leader not know about it. We
Yeah,
shouldn't have people doing underhanded stuff and the leaders looking past it. We shouldn't have leaders going, I'm not going to focus on the people, I'm just going to focus on the strategy.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
Which is not much of
Leader,
a strategy if it doesn't involve the people. What was your snippet? I'm keen to know what the snippet was.
Oh, okay. So this is so I had a conversation with a friend of mine,
Right.
and at the moment they're struggling with their KPIs. Right, many people
Is
have
this a
KPIs.
friend or is this a friend of
No,
mine?
are you doing the celebration balloons?
I have this friend. I don't
No,
know how
this
to.
is a friend. No, it's not me. It's not me. But so, and he wants to go and do some development to
Right.
try and close those gaps.
Yeah.
And the leader's like, yeah, no, I don't want to develop you. You just need to go and close the gaps.
Yeah.
Right. And it just frustrates me that we have team members, staff, employees that are actually going, I need help. I'm putting my hands up for help. I need you to help me. And you've got leaders going, yeah, nah, you just need to focus on what you got to do. And it really annoys me because as a leader, we need to be providing the tools, the resources, the support, the coaching, the training, the development, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. We need to be able to provide our teams with that. So what does that really say? Like if a leader said to you, no, I'm not prepared to develop you. I'm not prepared to coach you. I'm not prepared to grow you. I'm not prepared to train you, whatever it might be, whatever one of those words you want to plug in. What do you think that really says to the employee?
What do you reckon? I know I know how it plays out, by the way.
I don't value you.
Yeah.
You're not important. You're not worth investing in.
Yeah.
All
You
of
don't
them.
matter.
You don't matter, right? So what happens is one, we set the person up for failure. Two, they either start looking for another job. Three, they start to do what we call quiet quitting, right?
Yeah.
And quiet quitting is, again, a terminology in leadership where we just do the bare minimum. We're just going to try and fly under the radar. We're just going to do our bare minimum. We create a toxic culture because now I'm just going to start and talk to a couple of people around the company about, this person, this boss, look at what he's done to me. And we just get low productivity, low morale, and poor performance.
Reputation damage, everything that goes with
Reputation
that.
damage, So as soon as that happened this morning, he rings me and talks to me about it. So therefore, you got brand damage, you've got poor issues. And what's our responsibility as leaders? And this is for everyone out there. Our responsibility as a leader is to provide our people with the tools, resources, support they need to be able to do their job. Now, this person absolutely has the capability. They have the capability. They just need some support and development.
Yeah. And it's very easy. I like your analogy about the balcony and on the floor, right? It's very, very easy to look at something and go, God, that guy's lazy. That's not working, etc. Right?
He just should do more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I had a guy who ran a motorbike dealership, really big dealership in Australia, and he had one of those mezzanines with the glass where they can see all the trades down on the shop floor, right? And he said, "Have a look at this guy down here, this lazy little expletive, right?
Yeah.
Down on there." And he had to take a call. So I went down on the floor and I was talking to this guy, and he said, "I'm an apprentice," right? Yeah, and he said, "We've got 4 qualified guys and 4 apprentices and only 3 diagnostic machines."
Right.
And what the apprentices do is they come in and they just write up their name on the board, whether it's a bike or not to repair or not. They put their name on it, so block it out. So when we have to work on a bike, there's no machines to work on. And I've told my boss that I can't work on any bikes because there's no diagnostic machines. They're all electronic diagnostic machines.
Yeah.
But he's lazy. And the guy up on the mezzanine, up on the balcony, has never come down here.
To find out.
He got the message that or not. But play that out. Go to an unfair dismissal. Let's say the guy says, "You're so lazy, and now I'm firing you." And an apprentice, the apprenticeship board will take him to an unfair dismissal in investigation at least, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to find out you don't have enough tools, resources, or equipment for this apprentice.
Exactly. And that's the thing that annoys me is when you've got people going, I need it, I want it, I'm willing to grow and develop, and you've got leaders out there that are just going, well, I'm not prepared to invest in you.
I'm going to show you how it plays out in my world, and that is, it's not people. I don't use the word people. It's top talent. Just says, "I'm not putting up with it." They just walk.
Yeah.
And they're open to being headhunted, which they do,
There's
right?
enough, isn't there? There's enough jobs out there at the moment.
Oh, totally, yeah. And the people who you don't want to stay, the people who are lazy and quietly quitting, who are just thankful they're getting a wage each week, who are very happy to put up being told
Yeah.
off and fumbling along in the job, they're the people that stay, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy for the
Yes.
leader. You just can't get good help. Well, you can, but they quit.
Yeah. Well,
The
it's
top
like
team quit.
that John Maxwell saying, isn't it? You know, John Maxwell and a leader were talking, and the leader said, what if we invest in these people and they leave? And
Yeah,
John Maxwell says, well, what if we invest in those people and they leave? Yeah. And John Maxwell says, what if we don't invest with them and they stay?
yeah,
But this is the
yeah,
same.
yeah,
Invest
yeah,
in them.
yeah.
And yes, they could leave, but they could actually stay and perform high, or don't invest in them. They stay and you've got poor performers or average
Well,
performers, not even
I
poor
was,
performers. They might be just average.
I was chatting with someone the other day, Kylie, who said, "Oh, we sent so and so off to a really famous university for a leadership middle manager for a leadership course, and they came back. They were so inspired by the course, they quit."
Oh, yeah,
Right?
yeah,
They
yeah,
quit. Right? They go, "Oh, I could do this. I can do better elsewhere. I
yeah,
could use all these skills." But
yeah,
there's the problem. They couldn't see, even though they got the training, they couldn't see how they're going to be able to apply those skills in their current role.
yeah, right.
And
Okay.
and my guy knew about that. Yeah, well, we haven't really created a career path for them. And their answer was, well, give it in a couple more years. And honestly, the person who left, I was with him. I agree with him, mate. Well, who'd want to hang around for another 2 years on a maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Whereas on the flip side, I'll tell a good story is because it's not all leaders that are experiencing that. On a flip side today, I was giving some feedback on one of our leaders that's going through one of our leadership programs, and she's just smashing it. She's doing so great. And I was just telling the leader who had paid for the program for one of her team members, and he's got two other staff, and he said they're currently doing this program and they're doing this and they're this, and then they'll come on to the leadership. He said, I absolutely believe in developing the people. They've got to be inspired. They've got to be motivated. They've got to be driven to want to learn and grow. And so on the other side, you've got these leaders that get it. Now, these people that are doing these programs love working with him, love the culture. It feeds over into the customers. It feeds over into the people that they're leading as well. They're happy, they're engaged, they're inspired, right? Like, what is wrong with some leaders where you see leaders that just nail it and get it right?
I think often they look at the cost and ignore the value.
Yeah, yeah, for
That's where
sure.
it goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
they say, "Oh, this is going to be expensive." I think it's more expensive to not invest in your
Of
people.
course it is. Of course it is. Even if it's, even if it's one of our programs that we're running was $1,500.
Yeah, yeah,
$1,500. They could nearly charge a plan fee of
yeah,
5,500.
yeah,
So even if it got them one more client, they've already
yeah,
had a massive return on investment.
yeah.
Stupid,
Exactly,
stupid,
exactly,
stupid. It's just stupid, bad decisions.
exactly. And look, I'm going to finish on this point. I was chatting with someone a little while back, right, who said, "Oh, we haven't got the funds to train our leader," but they spent 6 grand on a suit.
Yeah, yeah.
That's 4 people on your course, isn't it? Or
Yeah, well, for one of them, yeah, absolutely. Like this is the thing, isn't it?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
where's the importance of it? Who are we focused on? Is it,
yeah,
what was that saying? I heard that saying, is it ego driven or is
yeah,
it, I don't know what the other word is, I forgot it, but it was such a great saying. And I think there you go. We're very much focused on ego
yeah.
as opposed to the people. Thank you, as always, Andrew. And what I should have said was, if any questions come through, please, I want you to join us and questions, engage in. I'm not even sure whether I didn't even get a check to see whether or not we got questions, but thank you, Andrew, as always, for joining and having some really great conversation. In our next fortnight, we've got an amazing principal from an all-girls school, and she's really going to be talking to us about the future of female leaders and how we as business owners, as leaders of leaders, can really empower and grow the females. And I think that's a really important part of business.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's going to be a great one.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, yeah. She's the principal of a school.
She's a principal of a private school here in Brisbane,
Yeah.
and all girls school. So she's really going to be talking to us around what does she do to empower them? How does she even set females up to be the future leaders? We want them to be future leaders, don't they? We want them to be empowering and inspirational. And how does she do that?
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, let me think about it. Yeah. Yes, I think we do. I think the answer is yes, isn't it?
We do, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm looking forward
I
to
need
having
to think about it.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Erin Wedge. So she'll be on next fortnight. So again, if you've got questions for her, please send them in. And I look forward to seeing you then, Andrew. And thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, and if you've got questions, put them in the comments below.
Yeah,
and
we will
we'll get back to
absolutely.
you. We'll answer any comments or insights you've got. Do that. Great seeing you as always, Kylie. Have a great day, night, and wherever you are in the world, have a great
Yeah.
time.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everyone. See you later.